afternoon, Dunkirk and Fredonia listeners, and welcome back to News at Noon. News at Noon is brought to you by Fredonia Radio Systems on WCVF 88.9 and WDVL 89.5. We have a medium house today. I'm Maisie, here today with Dan, Megan, London, Aryana, and Izzie. With this top of the hour update, we'll bring you the latest news, events, sports, weather, pop culture, and science. First up, let's go to the event bulletin for this week. With the 2024 election coming up quickly, false information is a major concern surrounding the top candidates. The American Democracy Project is hosting a panel of mis and disinformation today 3 to 3:50 in the Williams Center, room S204. At this meeting, students will be informed and will be able to discuss misinformation in democracy and in this presidential election. Again, the panel is today from 3 to 3:50 p.m. in the Williams Center, room S204. For more information or questions, email the American Democracy Project at adp@fredonia.edu. That's it for information through the grapevines. Next up, we'll bring it to London for our campus news updates.
Early this month, one of Fredonia's very own school music professors, Joe Reese, has joined music teachers from all across Germany, the United Kingdom, and other European countries in sharing a number of presentations at a conference that was held recently in Hamburg, Germany. These presentations included the community through ukulele playing and navigating music, learning theory, and in addition, the professor was also a guest speaker at the Hochschule für Musik on Theater Hamburg. This is just another reminder of the power of unity that music can bring us all. And realize that music is alive here on campus as well. But it's kind of spooky. Halloween vibes will be taking the center stage here at the Student Composer Concert, fittingly presented on this coming Monday, October 28th at 8 p.m. Senior music composer Nick Cristoforo notes, that we make these concerts fun to attend, and you can feel the community at all these concerts that foster every one of them, end quote. Be sure to drop by and you can get yourself one of your very own Stuck stickers. And whether you're looking for fun tunes to get into next week, or you're just looking for a spooky celebration, this event is one that you should mark on your calendar. But do you know what's even spookier than a Halloween concert? No, it's not the ever-approaching winter season, although that's quite scary. It's being late to register for your classes. And this is just a reminder to all students to go to your academic advisor's office to set up your spring 2025 advisory appointments so that you can register for your classes. So be sure to make sure all holds on your account are all paid off, or else you will be unable to register until your debts are all gone. This will wrap it up for your campus news. Now we'll bring it over to Maisie with local.
The presidential election will take place on November 5th. Commissioners Luz E. Torres and Brian C. Adams of the Chautauqua County Board of Elections announces 3 accessible early voting locations, as well as 1 new location. There will be extended hours while introducing a new radio and television public service announcement that will inform residents about the early voting process. The early voting sites will be held at the Chautauqua County Fairgrounds Expo Center at 1089 Central Ave in Dunkirk, New York, the Chautauqua Mall through the main entrance, 318 East Fairmount Ave, Lakewood, New York, the Robert H. Jackson Center, 305 East 4th Street, Jamestown, New York, and the new one this year, the Carlson Community Center at 50 West Lakewood Road, Mayville, for the 2024 general election. All 4 sites will be open for the same hours. Saturday and Sundays are from 9 to 5 p.m., Monday and Tuesdays are 12 to 8 p.m., and Wednesday and Thursday and Fridays are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The dates this year are Saturday, October 26th to Sunday, November 3rd. Early voting runs for 9 days, beginning 10 days before the general election. Early voting is not available on Monday, November 4th. On Monday night, Jamestown resident Thomas A. Brewster was charged with third-degree possession of a weapon, a felony, 2 counts of first-degree burglary, a felony, a second-degree assault, another felony, and 2 accounts of endangering the welfare of a child, as well as 4th-degree criminal mischief. The Post-Journal states, quote, police reporter Brewster unlawfully entered a person's home while 2 small children were present. The other person was taken to UPMC Chautauqua for treatment for their injuries after Brewster left the home." End quote. Brewster was arraigned and brought to the Jamestown City Jail until he could be arraigned. In Mayville, New York, 2 members of law enforcement testified in the trial involving Tucker Richard, who has been charged with second-degree murder in the death of his stepfather, Scott Blake. Blake was shot to death on January 6, 2023 at his home on 2256 Willard Street exit in the town of Ellicott. Richard's trial began on Monday when 2 members of law enforcement, Lieutenant Samuel Piazza with the Jamestown Police Department and investigator Mark Baglia with the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office. Barone had told members of the jury Monday that Richard shot and killed Blake in self-defense and alleged that Blake had hit Richard in the head with a shotgun, causing it to break. During Baglia's testimony, the public defender's office made multiple objections regarding his descriptions of the murder scene that night, as well as questioned his qualifications to make determinations on what he saw. Body cam videos were shown in court. The trial is expected to resume Wednesday morning. That's all for your local news update. Let's take it to Dan with sports.
Hi guys, it's me, Dan. Usually I do national and international news, but we're going to switch it up a little bit. Now I'm going to do sports. So the Blue Devils competed at their 43rd annual Mike Woods Invitational. The men's team finished 25th out of 33 teams, led by freshman Stephen Hallberg with an 8K time of 26 minutes and 50 seconds. Sophomore Quillen Shimp and freshman Edward Jordan finished second and third on the team. The women's team finished 26 out of the 29 teams that competed, with freshman Callie Hudson hustling out a 23-minute, 49-second 6K, earning her the Fredonia Athlete of the Week honors. Now that does it for your sports update. Let's send it to Aryana with the 2-day weather.
Now here is your Northern Chautauqua weather update brought to you by Fredonia Radio Systems.
Good afternoon, Fredonia residents. I heard today is Burger Wednesday. As my friend says, quote, when there's a hint of smoke in the air near University Commons, you know it's Burger Wednesday, end quote. Today we'll have a high of 73 and a low of 49. Mid-afternoon, expect thunderstorms because, oh boy, it's coming. I'm excited. My roommate is making pasta tonight, and with that thunderstorm coming, I may call it an early night. Tomorrow we'll be going down with a high of 53 and a low of 41. Looking ahead, today will be the last day of unusually warm weather, so for tomorrow, definitely grab a sweater. All right, that's enough for the 2-day weather, and I'll be back soon for a 5-day forecast.
Welcome to the Pop Culture and Local Music segment. I'm Megan Kidby, and let's start local. Tomorrow night, Last Call Entertainment presents a spooky, eerie, creepy, mysterious, and haunting lineup of Relentless Moisture, The Weather Might Say Otherwise, and the BJ's debut of Blue Envy tomorrow on October 24th. The show will be at BJ's in Fredonia on 51 West Main Street. Doors open at 9 and music starts at 10. Costumes are encouraged. If you can't make that one, don't worry. The Toy Box presents a Halloween show on November 2nd with bands like the Midroom Drifters, Disorderly House, and the Ryan Terry Family Band. Doors at 8, music at 9, and check out their Instagram for more info at the Toy Box USA. Now, here's the tea. 2 years after former Grey's Anatomy writer Elizabeth Finch resigned from her job after being exposed for faking cancer, a new Peacock docuseries, Anatomy of Lies, sheds more light on her lies. Andy Reeser, another writer for the show, says, quote, "It was like performance art. She was showing up to work with a shaved head and a greenish hue. She was eating these saltines and drinking ginger ale and going to the bathroom to take puke breaks from her chemo," end quote. After lying about her diagnosis for a decade, Finch resigned the day that The Ankler published an article in March of 2022. She had also lied about her brother, who is alive, dying by suicide. She shares that the decision to lie stemmed from the amount of support she received after having a knee replacement surgery. Finch states, quote, "It was one hell of a recovery period, and then it was dead quiet because everyone naturally was like, yay, you're healed," end quote. She continued to talk about her cancer lies to the Ankler in December of 2022, saying, quote, "I told a lie when I was 34 years old, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. I could only hope that the work that I've done will allow me back into those relationships," end quote. Sabrina Carpenter is taking many cities by storm as she tours for her short and sweet album. One of her more popular songs, Juno, begins with a bit by Carpenter arresting somebody in the crowd for being too hot. Most recently in Atlanta, who was in the crowd but Millie Bobby Brown, leading role in Stranger Things. Red and blue police lights were flashed, pink fuzzy handcuffs were thrown at Brown, with Carpenter saying, quote, "I've never fallen in love at a concert before, but stranger things have happened, so," end quote. Who will be next? I guess we'll find out at her next show tomorrow in Florida. I wish I was in Florida. That's all I have in music and pop culture news this week. Let's bring it back to Dan for national and international news.
Thank you, Megan. Let's take it back now. Moving away from sports to national. North Korea has sent troops to Russia, the United States said Wednesday. This is North Korea's first public confirmed movement that has rattled Western allies and could mark a major escalation of Moscow's war in Ukraine. South Korean lawmakers said Wednesday that North Korea had sent 3,000 troops to Russia out of a promised 10,000 to be deployed by December. That is twice the 1,500 that the South Korean intelligence agency had reported being sent last week. On Tuesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, said that 2 units of North Korean troops, with as many as 6,000 people each, were being trained for deployment. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters, quote, "What exactly they're doing is left to be seen. We're trying to gain better fidelity on it. It's a serious issue if North Korea's intentions is to participate in this war on Russia's behalf," end quote. Zelensky announced $400 million in new military aid. NBC News says, quote, "The U.S. and others say Pyongyang is already supplying Moscow with badly needed munition, including millions of artillery shells, in exchange for key military technology that could be used to strengthen Kim's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Both Russia and Ukraine deny any transfer of arms," end quote. On August 26, Trump's aides filmed a campaign video in a section of the cemetery where recently fallen service members were buried. CNN states, quote, "The U.S. Army issued a stark rebuke following the visit, stating that an employee of the cemetery was abruptly pushed aside after attempting to enforce rules that prohibit political activities taking place at the cemetery. The incident was reported to police, and the employee ultimately decided not to press charges," end quote. Currently, a federal judge has ordered the Department of Defense to turn over records related to former President Donald Trump's controversial visit to Arlington National Cemetery. ABC News says, quote, "This means the public could soon see the incident report concerning an alleged altercation between Trump's campaign officials and a cemetery employee," end quote. Trump's campaign promised to release a video they said would exonerate its staff. This video has not been released. Chioma Chewick, American Oversight Interim Executive Director, says, quote, "With the election just 2 weeks away, the American people have a clear and compelling interest in knowing how the government responded to an alleged incident involving a major presidential candidate who has a history of politicizing the military," end quote. The former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch and his partner have been arrested and charged with running a prostitution and international sex trafficking business. BBC News says, quote, "Authorities have arrested former fashion executive Mike Jeffries, his partner Matthew Smith, and the couple's alleged middleman, James Jacobson, on Tuesday morning." Federal prosecutors said the men used force, fraud, and coercion to engage in violent and exploitive sexual acts, end quote. The FBI opened the case last year, claiming Jeffries and his partners sexually exploited and abused men at events they hosted in their New York residence and hotels around the world. BBC investigates into the idea of the alleged middleman, James Jacobson. They speculate that Jacobson would conduct tryouts with different men, engaging them in sex acts in exchange for money. Once the couple approved of the men, they would be flown to his New York home, where they would, what the U.S. Attorney for the First Eastern District of New York, Brian Peace, said, quote, pressure to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants, end quote. On Tuesday, a court appearance was held in which Mr. Jeffries was released on a $10 million bond, while Mr. Jacobson was released on a $500,000 bond. They are next due in court on Friday. That concludes our national and international news. I know you guys are yearning for more weather, so let's now take it to Aryana.
Hi, lovies. I am actually dumbfounded from the Grey's Anatomy scandal. That is actually crazy. That's a show I like to watch on days like tomorrow. Talking about tomorrow, Fredonia will have a high of 53 and a low of 41. Friday will be a complete overcast with a high of 64 and a low of 47. And if I were you, I would bring a raincoat out for that day because there will be a 52 chance of rain. Saturday and Sunday will both be in the 50s with lows reaching 37 degrees. But for now, I must say goodbye with such sweet sorrow. But fear not, I will be back on Friday for high noon for a more in-depth forecast. But for now, let's hit our science stories.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm usually not talking here, but today I have some pretty interesting science news for you. So, the key Atlantic current could collapse soon. Leading climate scientists warn that this could impact the entire world for centuries to come. Live Science News says, quote, 44 of the world's leading climate scientists have called on Nordic policymakers to address the potentially imminent and devastating collapse of the key Atlantic Ocean currents, end quote. The main issue is that the effects of this collapse can have long-lasting impacts on the world. In a written letter, they said, quote, such an oceanic circulation change would have devastating and irreversible impacts, especially for Nordic countries, but also for other parts of the world, end quote. These Nordic countries include Denmark, Iceland, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. That's all I have for your science news. Now let's hand it back to our lovely hosts.
Wow, I really liked that. That'll wrap it up for today's edition of News at Noon. Campus News is written and read by London Nickolai. Local news for this broadcast is written and read by Maisie Strader. Weather is prepared by Maisie Strader and read by Aryana. Sports is prepared and read by Dan Granados. Music and pop culture is prepared by Julia Clement and read by Megan Kidby. National and international news is read by Dan Granados and written by Maisie Strader. Science news is written by Kevin Wilson and spoken by Izzie Inzinna. And finally, board operations for this broadcast are performed by the lovely Izzie Inzinna.
And of course, a big thank you to our team and to all of you for tuning in to News at Noon. Join us every Monday and Wednesday at 12 p.m. on WCVF 88.9 and WDVL 89.5. From all of us at Fredonia Radio Systems, be sure to tune in next time. Have a wonderful day and keep it vibrant in this corner.